Taiwan's landscape is littered with abandoned buildings, many of which possess immense value as living remnants of the country's social and economic history.
However, long periods of neglect have turned some of these buildings into health and safety hazards, facing demolition. Yet some of these old structures, rich in stories, are now being saved.
Tonight we'll take a look at some buildings that have fallen out of use, only to be rejuvenated with new meaning. Our Sunday special report.
Near Zhongshan Hall in Yamishan National Park, Jieshou Hall sits quietly among the overgrowth behind this hot spring. The building's roof is now just a tangle of steel beams, making it hard to imagine that this was once a majestic auditorium for lavish events.
The biggest highlight here is this abandoned hall, which was built for Chiang Kai-shek's 70th birthday celebrations. Groups of high officials converged here, and you can even imagine Chiang Kai-shek himself at the front, basking in the cheers of the crowd.
Jieshou Hall was originally built in Chiang Kai-shek's honor, and was a place where only his top officials and generals were allowed to meet. But because the institution charged with maintaining the historic building kept changing, it lay unused for a long period.
It's a large assembly hall that could also host performances as well as art and cultural events. We hope that there will be another chance for it to be used so that it won't be a total mess like this with just mosquitoes around.
We're
looking at this problem across the whole of Taiwanese society by taking photographs and conducting long-term surveys of these sites.
Yao Ruizhong is an adjunct professor in the Department of Fine Arts at National Taiwan Normal University who has spent over 20 years studying Taiwan's many old and abandoned buildings.
Before, we had been using a textile factory in Sanzhi. At the time, the company was leaving the factory to move to another abroad, so we asked the boss if they can lend it to us so we can use it for an exhibition.
Renovating and reusing rundown buildings can also create new value. Huashan Creative Park, built out of what used to be a wine factory, is perhaps the most prominent example of such a revitalization project.
After lying unused for 17 years, the whole wine factory was in a really terrible condition, as if it was in ruins.
To imbue the abandoned factory with new value, Li Zhengfang decided to highlight the uniquely modeled textures that time etched into the factory's walls and other surfaces. Li also decided against converting the spaces into storehouses and instead leases them to exhibitors, who put on up to 1,800 shows a year, creating an estimated 3 billion NT dollars in business value.
Tourists like creative stuff, they like new stuff, so we quickly cycle through different types of exhibitions. Creative merchandise also attracts urban residents and young people.
In 2016, Huashan received more than 3.7 million visits, a more than tenfold increase from 2008. It's already become a primary model for other municipalities around Taiwan seeking to develop their own creative parks. Located near National Taiwan University, Treasure Hill used to be a community for military service people and their dependents. At one point, Treasure Hill faced the threat of demolition, but fierce resistance on the part of residents and local students helped preserve the community. Now it's been turned into an artist village, with low rents luring up-and-coming artists to come live in this perch overlooking the Xindian River.
Hello, 请坐。前面围裙可以先穿上啊。
2 days as an illustrator who used to work in Taichung, where he was paying 20,000 NT a month for a studio to work in. It was too much for him, and in the end he decided to move north to Taipei, where he now pays just 4,000 NT a month to rent this workspace in Treasure Hill.
画个几笔之后就换一个颜色，换一个颜色。我们这样在最后的时候，它的背景的那个。
Just by teaching drawing and selling his works and other products, 2 days can break even on his rent. It's a big difference from before, when all he could think about all day was how to develop better selling products to cover the high cost of rent. The situation left him no time to flex his creativity.
你要把你的心分在它变成一个商品的时候，
It's actually really tough when you're distracted with how to turn your work into a product. When you're trying to create, you even end up wondering if you're making a product or a work of art. I like Treasure Hill because there are people living here, there are artists, and there are tourists. It's a space made up of 3 groups of people who mingle with one another here. I find it really interesting.
一个有感情的城市。
A city contains feeling or inspiration not because it has more skyscrapers or shopping malls, but because it's able to let its residents dream and look for their roots.
Whether in the case of Treasure Hill or Huashan Creative Park, effective attempts to revitalize abandoned structures can clearly help make Taiwan cities more diverse and enrich the cultural and spiritual lives of their residents.